And we're live. Welcome back to another Corona Geek, here where we talk all about cross-platform app development using Corona SDK. I'm your host, Charles McKeever, and this is holiday week. This is the end of the year, and you have time about what? Well, actually, if you're going to submit something to the store, it's too late.
Yeah, it's been too late for.
But if you want to finish up your project for the end of the year, last year we did Ship Jam. Remember that? Eric Kincaid
Oh yeah,
and
it's not too late to finish a project. You just can't. Tomorrow's the closure day, as far as I know, for Apple.
right, right. So, yeah, I would encourage you to take that Ship Jam. You can probably still find that at like shipjam.com or something like that. I think they had it on a Weebly site. But anyway, if you go over there, you can probably look at what was done last year. But the general idea was if you got a project sitting on your hard drive, go ahead and pull it out, dust it off, work on it, and get it ready, by the end of the year. The whole premise of the thing was actually ship it, but we're kind of past that. So the next best thing would be to be ready for the stores when they open back up. And I would say even if it was a holiday themed idea that you had, even if you had a Halloween game, go ahead and publish it, stick it out there, right? I mean, with the window, the people's attention for that particular topic has passed, but it doesn't mean you can't put it out in the store and be ready for next year. You can just you're not late for this year, you're just early for next year.
Mr. Positive. By the way, Ship Jam's down.
Oh, is it?
Their domain is expired.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Well, maybe
So if
that's
you want it, now it's time to go buy it.
I was gonna say, yeah, maybe that's a domain we should buy.
Yeah.
So.
Except they do that thing where it expires, they charge like twice as much for a while. Or.
Oh yeah, yeah. The domain, the registrar hangs on to it for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you like this domain?
It only costs you an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
And a small portion of your lower intestine.
Ooh, wow. Ooh. It's not a domain I want at all. Tasty.
Don't want it.
All right. Well, hey, speaking of lower intestines, we've been working on a desktop shooter game. We've got about, what, 10? Is this 11?
This is episode 11, unless I count incorrectly.
Yeah. So we have 10 previous episodes that are all in a playlist over at youtube.com/coronageek. And we've gone through everything from adding keyboard and mouse support to how to set up your project to how to add enemies and how to move things around and how to drop traps and sort of power-ups and all these other things. And now we're going to add, as a final cherry on top, we're going to add controller support. Yeah. So
Yay! My favorite controller.
Which one is that? That's Xbox,
That's
right?
the Xbox controller for Windows, the 360.
Okay.
The Xbox 360 controller, but for Windows.
Okay. So we're gonna add that support for the game. So it's gonna be an interesting.
Some people like the PS4 controller, but I'm not too fond of it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's going to be an interesting show, and if you haven't already, you can check the link for the show notes. There's going to be a link to I'll probably link to the playlist, and so you can watch everything in its entirety. But you can also download the code and just use the game. I mean, learn from it, pick it apart, unpack it. It's a great resource. What's the other thing that you wanted to cover today? You said something about a document.
Yeah, so we're going to have time, I think. This show is going to go. I don't have too much to cover today. It's quick to cover the controller stuff. It's not too much to it, and then I'm going to show also the document I promised last week, just briefly. And this document, you guys need to let me know if I'm echoing or anything too, just throughout the show. Like Charles knows, my speaker's a little bit off today. I promised last week just like a guide for people who are wanting to pick up this code and maybe a little bit lost. So what I put together was a very brief document. It's 15 pages. It's only 13 pages of real content. So we got a title screen, my little statement about it's time to move on to a new game. You can read that later if you want. And then a discussion of the major game parts. I won't go through it all, but it's just a page-by-page bit where I talk about what the different major files are and systems are in the game and where you can find them, what they're supposed to do, and maybe some additional notes. The only one that I break down with any detail is the player. Because the player is the most complicated of all of the parts, in my opinion, I took a little bit of time to break down what the methods are in it and what some of the lines of code, the segments, the sections do. so that when you're looking through the lines, you can go, oh, okay, well, this section here does this, and at least to give you a starting point before you look at the code. So that will be in the docs folder in the top-down shooter folder. But today's discussion is, make sure I show the right stuff. I almost showed a client product there. That would be a bad move on my part. Let's see. That's the danger, I tell you what, because, you know, Corona keeps a history of everything you've been working on, right?
Mm.
And so it's easy to, whoops, click the wrong thing and, like, load some, here I am live, and load some secret project I'm working on for somebody, and I'm not supposed to show it yet. That'd be brilliant. Let's see. So this is what the game looks like. It's always looked like this. But today's edition is gamepad, and you won't be able to tell any difference. I'm going to go ahead and restart it. But I'll just tell you what's going on here. So we got the reticle, just like usual, and you can see my dude moving around. Now the thing is instead of using the mouse, I've slaved. In fact, you can see my mouse up here, and yet it's no longer controlling my. Here, let me hide the rest of the junk on my desktop. It's no longer controlling my reticle. I've got the left joystick on my controller doing this, and then button A on this controller is for firing, and I don't have any pickups yet, but button X is to select which pickup or which trap. So you can see, I'm pointing at the screen like you can see my finger here. You can see the bottom part there changing, and that used to be the tab key. This is button X on the Xbox controller. And then if I had traps, I could press button B, and that would drop the trap. But currently, I don't have I don't have any. So let me go ahead and pause this code, or pause. I'll just shut her down here, and I'll bring the code over, and I will give you a synopsis of what I've done. So I've taken the current game the way it is, and I went into Common Lua, and I added a couple of new, or a few new variables. One of these variables is called input style, and there's two options here. We could say input style is keyboard and mouse, or input style is controller. Now, I didn't want to do anything fancy where it auto-detected the controller or anything like that. I just needed to demonstrate some real basic principles this time around. When we do our next game, I'm going to take 1 or 2 episodes, and we're going to do a thorough examination of controllers and how to deal with multiple controllers, detecting controllers, and all that good stuff. But for this time around, I just wanted to see if we could get the controller hooked up and how hard it would be, and it was quite simple. So if we put our input style on controller, and in various portions of the code here, Game Lua, Gamepad, Reticle Maker, and Main Lua, and Player Maker, it will notice that this is set, and it will change its behavior. Just before we move off here, there's 2 other variables in here. One is called reticle distance, and the other one is called move len, or length. Now, reticle distance is, let me bring up the game again.
Am I understanding this correctly? That you may have just said this, but is this going to auto-detect when you're on the device, or is this going to be something that you would set and then publish for that particular platform?
This is something, I mean, this is not even how I would do it to publish it. I'm just doing this purely for the demo.
Okay.
So what I am saying to the game by setting that flag is I'm saying there's going to be a controller, that's your only input. So if there's no controller, it's not going to work. So if I unplugged my controller at this point, it's not like the keyboard and mouse would start driving the game. The inputs would still be there, but it wouldn't be looking for them. And I'll show you that. I basically made an if statement that says, if this, then do keyboard and mouse. If this, do controller code.
Okay.
Which is the wrong way to do it. What you really want to do is you want to set up another interface that says, here, let's default to the keyboard and mouse because we know those are always there. And you always take those inputs for the interfaces, but then optionally allow the user to remap other inputs to game actions. And then from then on, when they play the game, those inputs would change, they would control movement.